Good morning, appraisers. Let's talk some real estate. You're listening to Phil Crawford, the #1 appraisal podcast host in America that always brings you the latest news and information from the front lines of the real estate market. Welcome to my truck again. I'm unable to get down to the radio station because of the COVID-19 issue, so instead of doing a podcast today, I'm going to do another Truckcast. And I wanted to get in here as soon as I possibly could to keep all of you up to date as to what's going on with our profession. So much has gone on in the last 2 weeks. It's been unbelievable. There's so much news and information that is affecting real estate appraisers across the country, and I think it's very important that we get you all up to speed on all the data and really all the politics that's going on behind the scenes with our profession, because I know a lot of you out there, you're still very busy. Hopefully you're doing a lot of drive-bys, maybe some curbside appraisals right now. And let's go ahead and get you up to speed on everything with this COVID-19 virus mess, all right? So first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about this COVID mess, especially when it comes to our data sets. And a lot of appraisers out there have been talking about COVID-19 and what that's going to do to our data in the future. And unlike other major disasters that has taken place in history, COVID's a little different because there really isn't the exact date. There really isn't that one date that took place that we can use as a sort of a pre-COVID world and a post-COVID world, because that's really what we're living in when it comes to our data services. What is pre-COVID and what is post-COVID? And as real estate appraisers, we're really going to have to keep a close eye on it, especially with all of our data going forward. What's our days on market going to look like? What's our inventory going to look like? Is the president right? I'm sure he is. In some cases where after we're all said and done, there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand and certain prices are going to go through the roof and certain markets are going to go down. Certain price levels are going to be affected. So we really do need to establish what date do we need to look at to say anything prior to this date is post-COVID, anything after this date is pre-COVID, all right? And what I've decided to do, because all of you get the crop report, for those of you that are members of findmyappraiser.com. Findmyappraiser.com, the best network of real estate appraisers throughout the country. Findmyappraiser.com. All of you do get the Crawford report. Now, if you get the Crawford report, you noticed one thing in February. You noticed that we documented the COVID collapse, all right? The coronavirus collapse is documented in the Crawford report in February. And as you can see right here in the Crawford report, I want you guys to take a look at the 10-year Treasury note. See the 10-year Treasury? This is the yield on the 10-year Treasury note in February. Look how it drops. It drops all the way down and it goes below 1% on March 5th, 2020. So on March 5th, 2020, the yield on the 10-year Treasury note, for the first time in history, went below 1%. Now, why is that important? Why is that important? Now, first of all, if you're a member of findmyappraiser.com, you get the color version of this. This is all going to be a black and white movie today because my kids, they're doing that online at-home school, and they literally, they took my color printer and they took all the ink out of it because they've been printing off so much stuff. So, but yeah, seriously, on April 5th, 2020, for the first time in history, the 10-year Treasury yield went below 1%. Now, what that means is that on that day, if you can imagine walking down, like a forest path, and then all of a sudden you see, an elephant fly by and a giraffe fly by and all these birds fly by and all these animals are just starting to run, you can say to yourself, well, maybe there's something going on up ahead that's causing all of these animals to go fly by me. Maybe there's a gigantic forest fire going on up ahead of me. Well, that's kind of what happened on March 5th, 2020. All of the money throughout the world was flocking to safety. It was flocking into the 10-year Treasury note, the 10-year Treasury bond. So as more and more money went into the bond value went up and the yield dropped. So that's sort of the day that I actually, as an appraiser, factor in the day where we live in, a post-COVID world versus a pre-COVID world. And I'm calling this day, I'm calling March 5th, 2020 as data point 0. Data point 0 is March 5th, 2020. Anything before March 5th, 2020, I would consider as a real estate appraiser any data to be in a post-COVID position. A pre-COVID position. Anything after March 5th, 2020, that is a post-COVID position, okay? So data point zero, I love that. Data point zero. I may make a little bit of a t-shirt off of that. Data point zero. Anything after data point zero, March 5th, 2020, you can consider yourself in a post-coronavirus COVID-19 world. That's all post-COVID data. So start to use that within your analysis in the data that you're using in your appraisal reports to think to yourself, okay, wait a second, something's going on, especially in the future, maybe a month, 2 months down the road, someone's going to say to you, hey, look, well, this sale or this sale took place here, and what about this sale? You can say that's all post or pre-COVID data that took place before March 5th, 2020. So data point zero, just remember that, appraisers, remember that, bankers, remember that, realtors. This national tragedy did not have an exact date. It didn't. It wasn't 9/11. We all knew it was 9/11. It wasn't like the Space Shuttle Challenger. It wasn't like the Kennedy assassination or Pearl Harbor. It wasn't like any of those where you actually had the date. You actually knew the date to when the world changed. This thing kind of snuck up on us a little bit, but the one piece of evidence that I have is the fact that the 10-year Treasury yield went below 1% on March 5th, 2020, and we can use that as our data point zero moving forward. This is the new Crawford report from March and April. As you can see right there, there's your data point 035-2020, and as you can see, the yields going up and down, and ending almost in April at 0.75%. So a lot of people are flocking to safety. A lot of money is flocking to safety in this big mess that we're in right now. So it's going to be very, very important. It's going to be very, very important for real estate appraisers to understand that. It's going to be important for appraisers like this guy, like Jonathan Miller. Jonathan Miller with Miller Samuel out of New York City. He's in lockdown right now, unfortunately. It's going to be important for him. He does his market reports. What he's going to show in his market reports in the next 3 months is going to be extremely important because that data is going to show the difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID activity. Also, this guy right here, Ryan Lindquist out of Sacramento, California. Again, another top mind in this appraisal profession, another one in lockdown in California. He's going to be analyzing all of that pre-COVID and post-COVID data, all right? For all of you real estate agents out there, very important for you to understand that. Very, very important, because as time moves on, you may want to give data to real estate appraisers that is data from that post-COVID world. And you know what? Where we're going in a post-COVID world, I'm not really sure. In some cases, you can see markets starting to go up because of increased or pent-up demand. In other cases, you can start to see markets go down. We don't really know what the unemployment rate's going to be, all this stuff. So there's going to be a lot of things going on. And as real estate appraisers, we need to focus in on that timeline, that one ripple in time. The ripple in time is March 5th, 2020. That's data point zero for all real estate appraisers, okay? So that's very important. Another thing that's going on is this Fannie Mae Freddie Mac matrix that they just put out when it comes to interior and exterior inspections. And I know this has been a hot topic on a lot of the social media, sites and things like that. If you're doing interior inspections right now, I'm not going to judge you. That's your call. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to let history judge you, but I'm not going to, okay? And history may judge you favorably, and history may judge you unfavorably. Your moral position on that, look, that's up to you, okay? I'm not going to judge you on it. I'm just going to say history most likely will judge the outcome of interior and exterior inspections during this very, very difficult time. I want you guys to understand that the COVID-19 virus did not just shut down markets and economies, it shut down civilization. We've never had something shut down civilization, maybe Noah's flood, something like that, but we've never had something like this happen on an international basis before. So it is pretty amazing when it comes to that stuff. But I do want to talk about the new matrix, the new appraisal matrix that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac put out just recently when they came to their decisions as if they're going to accept, interior, exterior appraisals on some of their products. Okay, so here's a example of the Freddie Mac matrix. Now this is the Freddie Mac matrix. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae is the exact same way. Now Fannie and Freddie came out and they said basically that if you want to do a purchase appraisal, you can do a desktop, what they're considering to be a desktop. Get over here. Or something very similar to the Curbside that we were talking about in the last episode. They'll allow that on a purchase. They'll allow an exterior appraisal, an exterior inspection, to be done on a rate and term refinance if the loan is owned by Fannie or Freddie. So if you're selling a loan to Freddie and they already own it, and you go to the Freddie Mac website and you pull up the loan lookup and you put in the customer's name, the address, and the last 4 digits of their social security number, it'll tell you if Freddie Mac has that loan or not. And if they do, you can do a rate and term refinance with just an exterior appraisal. All right? If Fannie does not own it, or if Freddie does not own it, or if you're trying to do a cash out refinance, cash out, you have to do an interior and an exterior appraisal. Interior and exterior. And by the way, my Curbside idea, my Curbside product will not work in the exterior and interior appraisal. That was made very, very clear. In order for you to do an appraisal for a rate and term that's not owned by Fannie or Freddie, or a cash out refinance, the appraiser has to go in and do a traditional observation, just like the ones that we did in the post-COVID world. The pre-COVID world. I'm getting my pre's and I'm getting my posts all confused. I do apologize. But in the pre-COVID world, that's the kind of appraisal you need to do a cash-out refinance or a rate and term when Fannie and Freddie do not have the paper in place. Now that's causing some problems, because a lot of the real estate appraisers out there are being put in a rock and a hard place, because some of the lenders, and there's been a massive rush for cash out refinances because people are freaking out, and there's been a gigantic rush on the equity. It's like a home equity rush, and they're trying to get all their home equity out because they have no idea what's going to happen after this whole thing is over with. So it's putting appraisers in a terrible position, because we have to tell lenders, we're not comfortable doing it. And lenders, you have to be the ones to ask real estate appraisers to put themselves in harm's way, and perhaps put the homeowners in harm's way. Man, if I was an AMC right now, if I was an appraisal management company right now, I would not be ordering interior inspections. I would not be ordering interior inspections. I'll talk about that in just a minute, okay? So when you really think about it, in order to get a cash out or a rate and term refinance done that Fannie and Freddie do not own, listen, those type of deals are not Fauci favorites. Dr. Fauci would not like it if you were doing cash out refinances. Not that he's made a statement on it or not, but those are not Fauci favorites, okay? It's very important that all of you understand the ramifications that you're taking on when you go inside of a house. And appraisal management companies, it's very important for you to understand that if one of your appraisers gets this stupid virus, they're down for 14 days. So I don't care how many appraisal reports they have on their desk, they're not going to go back out again. They're down for 14 days. And oh, by the way, you may need to start contacting everybody that appraiser was in contact with for the past, 9 days, because you can be asymptomatic for 9 days. You may need to start contacting everybody that they've been in contact with. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, hey, how you doing? It's so-and-so from this AMC. Oh, by the way, the appraiser that we sent out 3 days ago, he's got COVID. Just wanted to let you know. Okay? Very, very important that you guys start thinking about that. This matrix that's been put out has put appraisers in a really tight position, a tough position. So that moral call, let's put that, on some of the lending institutions out there and think about what we're doing. Okay? Why are they doing this? Why are they making it such a difficult thing for people to take the cash out of their homes? I'm just thinking that if you're Fannie and if you're Freddie, cash out refinancing may not be the best thing to do right now, because we have no idea what the market's going to be after this whole thing is over with, okay? So it's very, very tricky. Also, another thing, and this is something I was thinking about the other day because this is extremely important to real estate appraisers in the future. You know, we got really close, and I mean really, really, really close. I mean like really close to having nothing but waivers done. Just waiver when it comes to the loans that are going to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We got really close to that. And there's a lot of brave people and a lot of smart people that came to our rescue. I'm going to talk about those people in just a minute over the last 2 weeks. But here was what I was thinking. Over at Fannie Mae, there is a special computer. It's a magic valuation computer. And what happens is if you're a loan officer and you put all of the information of your borrower into this computer, it goes do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and all of a sudden it spits out, you know, what it would recommend as far as evaluation is concerned. This computer has been collecting data from real estate appraisers for the past 15 years, maybe even longer. I think 2005 is when the UAD format came out, okay? So this master computer is out there. It has a name. The master computer's name is the Collateral Underwriter. Real estate agents, bankers, you probably know this one. Real estate agents, you probably don't. It's the Collateral Underwriter. They also call it CU. Some appraisers don't call it CU because some appraisers don't like this master computer, so they call it Checkup Check. It's also known as Checkup Check, or also, for short, just some appraisers just call it Chucky, all right? Chucky has got a little bit of a problem right now. Chucky is the master computer of Fannie Mae, but Fannie Mae's master computer has all pre-COVID data in it. Chucky is nothing but pre-COVID data. Chucky has problems, and we need to keep feeding Chucky and make sure that it has the right data and information so that the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac book is in pretty good shape. So as far as I can tell, this is going to be very good for real estate appraisers because the only way you can feed Chucky is if you put information in from what is known as the 1004 form. The 1004 form, which is the standard uniform residential appraisal report that appraisers use on a regular basis, that is the form that feeds the information to the collateral underwriter. So Chucky is all pre-COVID right now. Just this guy needs to get post-COVID. So we're going to be in business for the next decade feeding that computer with all the news and information that we need to come up with, okay? That computer is basically, there should never be, for the next, I don't know, maybe 3 years, there should never be another appraisal waiver given because the collateral underwriter does not have all of the news and information, does not have all of the new data, all the data past data point 0 that it needs to have to make an appraisal waiver call. That's just my opinion. I'll let the people over at Fannie and Freddie handle it. But you know what? I just think that Chucky is inadequate given the circumstances that we have today, okay? So that's why it's very important that we as real estate appraisers are out there doing our thing, analyzing our markets, doing our drive-bys, doing our curbsides. When things get better, we'll go back to interior if we need to. But I think the curbside product is a very good product as well. I want to say a special thank you. Someone on the YouTube channel came out and said that I wish Phil would have got the credit for the curbside, and because I think there's a lot of software companies that are out there that are coming up with their own apps and things like that. And I really want to thank all of you for thinking about me when it comes to that. I can't take all the credit. The curbside appraisal and inspection model was not my idea only. There's somebody else that came up with it. Of course, everybody knows who that is. Pat Turner 0004. Pat Turner also came up with the curbside appraisal inspection idea. So I got to give all that credit to Pat Turner from Virginia. He also came up with that as well. And I do know that there's a lot of software companies out there that are taking that idea and they're going to try to make some money on it because they're coming up with all these different apps that you can use to go inside of the homes and stuff like that. And that's cool. That's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. And but I want all of you to maybe check out this website known as Appraisal Sight, appraisalsight.com, appraisalsight.com. Coming to you very soon. Go on there and check that out. Just put your name and information. We'll give you the information when we come out with it. But that's appraisalsight.com, okay? So that's what's going on with the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac matrix. There's going to be some more information about that as time goes on. But remember, some of those products that are out there, and you got to understand, the mortgage brokers, the mortgage bankers, when you take away the cash out refinance, when you take away the rate and term refinance, then you're taking away literally 60% of their product line. Think about that, because the construction lines are going down. A lot of these loans are going no bid. No one wants to buy it. I mean, think about it. Who would ever buy a bond or a mortgage-backed security from March of 2020? I mean, seriously, who would ever buy that? If you think someone's going to buy that, if you think someone that's even worth something, that's you. Oh yeah, that paper's worth something. Oh yeah. No, okay? So a lot of this stuff is going no bid. So the cash out refinance, all that stuff, that's about 60%, maybe 50 or 60% of what a broker can offer in their product. So they're starting to get a little bit upset about it. But remember, those products, when you order them, those products are not Fauci favorites, all right? Also, a couple other things. Major battle. Major Twitter bomb, out of control battle. Now, this is something that's going on in Washington, D.C. It's very important for all real estate appraisers to understand. I want to introduce you to a couple players here. I want to introduce you to this guy. I'm sure you know him. His name is Mark Calabria. Mark Calabria, he is the chief of the FHFA. Now, FHFA is the regulator for Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Okay, this guy's name is Mark Calabria. All right, Mark Calabria has made a statement recently that non-banks are not too big to fail. Now, what is a non-bank? A non-bank is something like Quicken Loans, Mr. Cooper, an investment house. These are non-banks that were established after the Dodd-Frank Act, okay? The non-banks, the mortgage brokers, are getting really mad. And the reason why they're getting mad is because they have a servicing problem. You see, the federal government came out and basically said, excuse me, that American people or American mortgage holder doesn't have to pay their mortgage if they have problems with this COVID-19 issue. And it's sort of like based on just a good faith trust issue. So if you're a servicer of a mortgage and you're out there and your job is to get the money from the consumer and then give the money to your investor, well, all of a sudden the consumer's saying to you, hey, look, I don't have the money to pay. So if I don't have the money to pay, then you as a servicer, guess what? You still owe the money to your investor. No matter what, you still owe the money to your investor. That's your boss. So here you are. And most servicers, they always, ran the risk of people that not paying their mortgage, maybe about 1, 2, 3% of the people not paying their mortgage. Where, the estimates that are out today, you could be looking at 25 to 30% of the American population not paying their mortgage. But yet the servicer is still on the hook to the investor to pay them the money every single month. Okay? Now this is becoming a pretty serious issue. So a lot of the mortgage servicers out there, the non-banks, and this is freezing up their liquidity, by the way, is jumping to this gentleman by the name of Mark Calabria saying, hey, look, we need a bailout. We need help because we need to pay our investors, and the federal government is saying, guys, the homeowners don't have to pay, so we don't have that money. And Calabria is basically saying, look, guys, you're not too big to fail. And not only that, you got a problem, go take it up with your investor. Go work it out. I don't see a problem here right now. Now this, because of what Mr. Calabria has been saying and the position he's taking, has gotten a lot of people pissed off, especially in the mortgage broker world. And that world, the MBA world, is a world you don't want to get them mad. Trust me, I've been in this business I've been in the appraisal business for a long time. I have taken a lot of heat from mortgage brokers and loan officers and real estate agents over the years. And the one thing that I know is heat from a mortgage broker or heat from an LO is serious. That's serious heat. So what's been going on is this guy, his name is R. Christopher Whalen. You see him right there? R. Christopher Whalen, he's an investment banker, also an author. And he's also, I think he's got a lot of friends that are mortgage bankers and mortgage brokers. He's been out on Twitter literally Twitter bombing and beating the living hell out of this guy. I mean, he's basically saying, Mnuchin, fire him. Mr. President, fire him. This guy is going crazy on this guy right here. And this has been a huge, huge battle. And this guy right here and all of his mortgage broker friends, all of his MBA friends, they're going to all these senators. And they're saying, hey, look, you know what? This guy's not helping us. We need liquidity. We're in trouble. They're even using words like Calabria virus. Calabria virus. That's the words that this guy, Chris Whalen, and everybody else in his world is using. So they are basically going to anybody and everybody that they can, especially the senators, and saying, hey, look, change this around. We need help. Not only that, they are going above this guy, and they're going to the guy that he answers to. Now, who does this guy answer to? This is Mark Calabria, chief of the FHFA. Who does he answer to? He answers to this guy. He answers to this guy. This is Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary of the United States, the most powerful Treasury Secretary in the history of the country as of a few weeks ago. And that's his pretty wife right there. He obviously has married up. This guy right here, if you get the Crawford report, let me show you something here. This is really cool. Hold on, I've lost my Crawford report. If you get the Crawford report from March and April, I break down from the Fred website everything that has taken place in the last 30 days. I mean, everything. And let me tell you something, guys. This is historical. So many different pages of all the events that took place in March because of this COVID-19. And if you can take a look right there, that CARES Act was signed right there on March 27th, 2020. Now, in that CARES Act and all of the other liquidity centers that the Federal Reserve and the Treasury has created, something took place. This guy right here, the Treasury Secretary, started working heavily in conjunction with, almost merging with this guy right here. Now, this guy right here is Chairman Powell. He's the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. And that's sort of the expression that he's had through this entire thing. He has taken the discount rate all the way down to zero. So this guy and this guy have sort of merged together when it comes to the Treasury and the Fed, really honestly for the first time in history. Now, let me ask you a question. And this is just, let's just use body language here for just a minute. If you had two agencies working together, and one was ran by this guy, and one was ran by this guy, which one do you think is going to take over? My money's on this guy right here. Now, who does this guy answer to? This guy answers to and serves at the pleasure of this guy, POTUS, Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States. So in a way, if you want to take a look at what has happened in the last, 30 days, President Trump actually has become the president of the Federal Reserve Bank. I'm just saying, which makes Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin one of the most powerful Treasury Secretaries in the history of our country. These are amazing, amazing times that you need to look at, that you need to be aware of. You have to understand everything that's going on around you. You're just not out there trying to figure out which data point is this and which data point is that. There's a lot of political things going on. And I'll tell you right now, this man right here, this man, as real estate appraisers, like I said, you and I have felt the force of mortgage brokers on us. We have felt that pressure. We have felt that intensity that comes at us from mortgage brokers. This guy has every single mortgage broker, every single mortgage banker. They're all coming down on him right now. As a matter of fact, a lot of the commercial guys are kissing the ass of this guy right here and this guy right here because they're in trouble and they're not even worrying about that guy right there. Now that's historic. That's a store. When it comes to Calabria, I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I'm going to be really honest with you. Anybody that can handle that much pressure from that side, I got to admire him. I'm not going to lie to you. I got to admire him. Because remember, he wants to float that bond. You see, I saw Mark Calabria speak at the American Enterprise Institute in Washington, D.C. in October of last year. That guy wants to float a bond. He wants to float a bond in probably 2021, 2022. It's his goal to get Freddie and Fannie out of conservatorship and back in the open market. Well, if we're out there doing these, not so nice Fauci stuff, we're doing those cash out refinances, and those are going on Fannie and Freddie's books. When we've got a broken Chuck, when Chucky's broken, we got to really protect that Fannie and Freddie book, and I think that's what Mark Calabria is doing. And you know what? I admire him a lot for it. So that's kind of what's going on in the world today. I want all of you to understand what we talked about today, especially when it comes to data point 0. I'm throwing things all over my truck so I can't find it anymore. Sorry about that. But data point 0, March 5th, 2020. If you need to get a copy of the Crawford report that breaks this all down, the Crawford report's from February. All of the February Crawford reports, everybody that gets it, everybody that puts that into their appraisal reports, you had COVID-19 in your appraisal reports in February of 2020. You're one of the very few appraisers out there, the ones that are part of the FindMyAppraiser.com network. You've got the COVID-19 data in your appraisal reports. You're way ahead of the game. And now just use March 5th, 2020 as your data point 0, move forward, and let's see what happens. Do I think that every market will decline? No. Do I think every market will increase? No. We'll have to see how this whole thing works out. Okay? A couple other things I need to talk about really quick. I need to give a lot of special thanks out there right now, because a lot of things, I'm telling you, in the last 3 weeks, it was a massive show. I just won't say the first word. It was crazy. It was nuts. And you as real estate appraisers, your profession was on the line. And there were a lot of people that stood up for us. There was a lot of people that jumped into the leadership positions. As a matter of fact, I know now. I've been doing this thing for 6 years. I know who the leaders are, and I know who the people are that are full of BS. And the leaders really came out. They really were out there, standing up for us, understanding the whole demographic, understanding what was going on. And I do need to give some special thanks, okay? First of all, to James Hazlett. James Hazlett is the chief appraiser of the Veterans Administration and a Marine. He took a strong leadership position in the secondary market. He came out ahead. He did a terrific job. I want to thank Joan Trice. Joan worked behind the scenes a lot with her movers and shakers and policymakers. She also has been working behind the scenes in the last week, especially when it comes to appraiser safety and homeowner safety. Very, very important. She stepped up to the plate for us. Yes, I know. I'm saying good things about Joan Trice. She did a great job. I want to thank Danny Wiley. Danny also has done a terrific job over at Freddie Mac. He stood up for us. He made sure that we were part of the equation moving forward. It was very important for that. And Danny, I want to thank you for all your work, especially thanking you for inviting me to the party. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank Jonathan Miller from New York City and the great Pete Fontana, the Fontana from Montana, Pete Fontana, who together, both of them put together a nice letter, an appraiser essential letter, and sent that out to lawmakers, movers and shakers as well, talking about the essential need for real estate appraisers moving forward, especially after all of this entire mess is completely finished and over with, okay? There's been a lot of people out there. Also want to thank this guy, John Russell, right there, that guy right there. American Society of Appraisers. He's been doing a terrific job standing up for all of us. If you are an AMC, if you are a lender, this is extremely important. If you're an AMC and if you're a lender and you're out there and you're ordering non-Fauci favorites, if you're not ordering Fauci favorite appraisals, but you're ordering non-Fauci favorite appraisers like, interior appraisals and things like that, you need to go to www.collateralrisk.org. Collateralrisk.org. Okay, very, very important. And you get on there and you look for the Peter Christensen webinar on all of your liability as a real estate or as a lender or an appraisal management company. Peter Christensen's webinar on that is extremely important. You will never order another appraisal report again, interior, without thinking things through. And Peter does a terrific job breaking down all of those risks. Real estate appraisers. Peter's got a great book out. It's not a sexy title. It's called Risk Management for Real Estate Appraisers and Appraisal Firms. Risk Management for Real Estate Appraisers and Appraisal Firms, okay? And you can get Peter's book. It's a terrific book. He sent this one to me. See, right there, it says, Phil, lots of love. Peter, no, I'm just kidding. It says, Phil, thanks for your support. So get a copy of Risk Management for Real Estate Appraisers by Peter Christensen. He's probably going to have to redo that and put in all the new COVID information as well. And then finally, one more big, gigantic thank you. And you got to understand something, folks. The real estate appraisal profession is like this gigantic movie. And there's a lot of characters in it. And there's a lot of characters with a lot of strong personalities. And I'm one of them. And I understand that. But if at the end of the movie, when you see all the credits, and you see all of them go down, you see all those names of all those people that go into making that movie great and making that movie stand up and making that movie work, well, when it comes to our profession, there's only one name in all of those credits in my book, and that's Lori Noble. Lori Noble is the credits in this entire movie. She's the best boy grip, she's the assistant, she's the makeup, she's everything that makes this whole thing rock and roll. And I want to give a special thanks to Lori Noble and all of her hard work, dedication, fear of God, and love of country throughout the last few weeks. I don't know. Lori Noble, SRA. Maybe a good future Appraisal Institute president. Like to see that happen, that's for sure. So that's about it. That's where we're at right now. A lot of politics going on. Remember, March 5th, 2020. That is your data point 0. All data before March 5th, it is pre-COVID. All data after March 5th, it is post-COVID. That is the world that we're living in. That's what we got to deal with. I'm going to go do a couple of Fauci favors today. I'm going to go do a couple of drive-by appraisals, and I wish you all the best. Kiss your spouse, hug your children, enjoy your day, be safe. Be safe in the field. I'll talk to you soon.